Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Team Coyle's Real Estate Hub, your go-to spot for all things real estate. And today we're going to discuss a recent change in Massachusetts law pertaining to residential home inspection waivers. So this new law will take in effect October 15th, 2025. It looks like it's going to. So if you're buying or thinking about buying or selling your house soon, you might want to stick around and see what's changing in the law regarding home inspections. So why don't we just jump in? Well, first off, let's talk about what the purpose of this new law is. And simply put it, it's really to prohibit sellers and their agents, listing agents, from making home inspection waivers a condition for accepting an offer. And let's go over some key points of what's in the law, and then I'll give you my opinion and my thoughts about it. Number one, sellers, and excuse me if I'm reading or paraphrasing some of this stuff, I need to, some of it's dense, so I want to make sure I get the spirit of what the law's suggesting. So number one is sellers and listing agents cannot require buyers to waive, limit, restrict, or skip a home inspection as a condition to accept an offer. So the days of waiving home inspection as part of an offer are over for the most part. Further, sellers and their agents cannot accept any offer that includes such a waiver. Looks like that's out the window. 3. Additionally, before a seller can accept an offer, both the seller and buyer must sign a written disclosure. In the law, they provide the language which should be stated. I'm assuming that's what's going to be used. I'll paraphrase here, but disclosure basically stipulates 2 points. 1, that the seller warrants and represents that the agreement to purchase is not contingent upon the buyer willingness to waive, limit, or restrict a home inspection. 2, the seller further agrees and represents that if the buyer chooses to have home inspection, that's an interesting word, chooses, is they're basically stating you have to have one, but the buyer shall have a reasonable period of time after the full execution of the first written contract. Typically it's the offer, but conceivably the purchase and sale could happen and that would be done, but typically it's the offer to decide whether to proceed with the transaction if the results of the inspection are not satisfactory. They find some problems with the house that they didn't expect. 4, the law makes it very clear that any provision in the first written contract, which is usually the offer, but it could be the purchase and sales, that would render a home inspection meaningless will be considered a violation of the law. So, for example, if you didn't give them a reasonable period of time, I don't know what that is. They haven't defined that. We'll talk about that, the problems with that in a minute, but that could be a reason for a seller or listing agents violating the law. And lastly, and this part of the law seems to kind of contradict or offset some of the points above, but it basically says buyers who have received the aforementioned written disclosure I just talked about can still choose to skip or limit their inspection as long as they are not influenced or required by the seller or the seller's agent to do so. I don't know how you prove that, but effectively, again, the law is there designed to limit, or protect the buyer, home buyers and consumers for buying a home. So let me give you my thoughts on this, and I'm going to be pretty direct about it. My take on the new law, while I appreciate the intent of regulators, lawmakers to protect home buyers, consumers, I think this is a classic example of how government can overstep its mandate. Let me explain what I mean by that. I think there's good intentions here, but so often good intentions are translated into bad policy. And remember the old adage, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I think this is a good example of that. Look, home inspections are important. I think they're very important. Look, you're buying a house or selling a house is probably one of the most expensive transactions that the average person makes in their lifetime. So I always recommend to my buyers to make full use of home inspection. But that said, that decision to request or waive an inspection should be part of the negotiation process between the buyer and the seller. It shouldn't be legislated by law. There's no need for that, because when you create rules like that, you're effectively treating the home buyers like children. that they're incapable of making their own informed, intelligent decision. And after all, that's why they have agents assisting them. It's the value of having a listing agent or a buying agent. So it seems to me that this law, well intended, at least I'll give that the regulators the benefit of the doubt. It's a little bit paternalistic in my opinion, a little heavy-handed. Also, the phrase reasonable period of time, what does that mean? Okay, who defines that? It's vague, and it's probably done intentionally so. And this is only going to lead to confusion and probably legal disputes, which is why I tend to believe that the real beneficiary of this type of law are lawyers. So overall, why the law aims to protect home buyers and consumers. Bravo, I guess, for that. It's just going to complicate the negotiating process, which I think has worked pretty well in the past for both buyers and sellers. It also reduces the flexibility that buyers and sellers engage in. So I don't particularly like it, okay? I think it's unnecessary, and I think you're undermining the value of an agent in the process, because a good agent will help a buyer, seller make intelligent decisions about how to proceed during a negotiation. So thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye-bye.